I just had to do a wrap up in order that I can say that John D is my witch. So, a word from D in the voice of Cooper Clarke. Oh, God, pardon me if I have sinned against thy majesty in revealing such a great mystery in my writings, which all may read. But I believe that only those who are truly worthy will understand. The John's words, don't worry, you're not alone. Let's just go through this one last time. So in the middle of this page are two N's, which, as you can see on the folder aspally, there's a Christmas tree bauble on the top of this one, and there's a huge dent in here. What on earth is that? Now, this gouge in that N, which is arguably the most prominent thing on the page, it is most certainly on the folder, exists on each of the 6 different copies of this that I have acquired. And it's one of the few marks, along with this blob here, that survive all the way. So, have you never wondered what it was? Did you want somebody really clever to work it out? Well, unfortunately, there was nobody really clever on hand, so I had to do it. So let's just bring that up a bit. And yeah, there's a 51-degree pyramid, a precise, absolute integer 51-degree pyramid from this lower rule, and its apex is on that red dot there, which is on the right side of the serif, the right serif of the foot of this, and it's tucked in as much. It's not on the end of that, it's actually just nicely so that it's just by, if you draw a vertical from that, it'll go up the inside of here, and it will between our dent and the line, right? So we like 51 for several reasons. Now that dot is the precise center of an equilateral triangle of the same side length as the base of the pyramid, such that this horizontal line is at the top and this apex at the bottom, and as you can see, it goes nicely straight through the strike through of Shakespeare's, and it happens to go straight through the dot of that iron imprinted on various other things. There is a triangle there. Now, within that, we can define a pentagram such that this vertex and these two vertices are coincident with our big red triangle. And if you just look at that now, you can see nicely that S is leaning on this diagonal. Now, about these two vertices, we can draw circles of the same radius as the length of this pentagon inside our pentagram, and that produces what Dürer calls a fish bladder, but I'm trying to call them mandorla, which means almond. It's rather nicer. And of course, that is such that one can generate the pentagram from the hexagon at the bottom using these 45-degree lines. Now, what I didn't realize was that they're not actually exactly 45-degree lines. This method of Dürer's isn't mathematically accurate. And that's quite good news for me, because what we're about to show you isn't also perfectly accurate, but it's upgraded as a result of Dürer not being perfect. So yeah, what happens is that there's a pentagram of the same side length again as the pyramid, and that bounds this hexagon that we've derived, such like that. And that's quite astonishing. Now, if you're getting lost now, okay, but if you're not getting lost, I'd like you to just think about that for a minute, just what we've done. That doesn't just happen, does it? So that's quite remarkable. That's the first of two things that this thing does. The second being that this tau cross is integrated within there. Now, this tau cross is not drawn, it's not defined as starting from where this blue circle is. It's defined as being a quarter of the way across the length of this. Right? Now, screw your face up for a couple of seconds, and what that means is that this length is 1/6 of this width. So that's the second thing. I've got this pentagram thing, so that I've actually got a second, a kind of a corroboration of Durer's method. There are actually three methods. There's the geometrically accurate tech drawing style method of making pentagrams. There's the Dürer method, and now there's the John Dee, Dee's Mandola, maybe, that creates that. And then we've got this fact that it's also 1/6 of the width, the side length of the hexagon, the pentagon, this square, this triangle, are all 1/6. So isn't that good? So put the put that triangle back, and that's starting to look like something that you stick on the front of a mason's lodge, isn't it? And there's our pyramid, and there's our pentagram that fits around it, and that's the point that I'm trying to make about what's quite remarkable about that. I mean, the lines themselves, both these pentagrams have existed for a good 6 months now. They have independent corroboration. They fit in with other things, and then we discovered this. So that's great. Now, and in the centre of that, you've got this intersection of these three lines, and that, of course, is that, according to various. Well, it's not secret knowledge, really. This is what they think, and so we can put the pyramid on, and I'm quite chuffed with that. Now, just a word about the geometry of the mandola and square roots. You can find all square roots up to 20. 15 and 17 are trivial, and I don't think he's got them on there, but they're trivial to do. I haven't checked all of 20 to 30. I did initially say that these you could find any. I don't think you can. There's a series of number sequences that you can generate from these various games that you can play, and I think eventually, intuitively, they fan out. But it's wrong to say that this doesn't have the square root of 11. So if you're responsible for the mathematical instruction of any major religious figures, you might want to fill them in on that. This isn't esoteric hidden knowledge. Apart from Euclid, Archimedes, and Dee, all publishing things on this, Victorian Anglican clerics took this kind of stuff. I don't know if they were Masons or what, but it was very, very popular amongst vicars in 19th century England. Now, this was an inspiration of putting this crest on there. So in terms of, you just drawn lines, this crest here is just a stretched out version of De Vere's crest. These two squares, though, they do exist. It's just then we got there to some extent through this crest, and the O, which isn't perfectly in the centre of the pentagram there, but that's all part of the Tau cross, and we think that that's our third pentagram. We need a third pentagram. It houses a triple tau, and it also houses which I'm still trying to stick that on. I have no real justification for that, so I should remove it. But I want that to turn into a rosy cross, but I haven't managed to do that. Yeah, okay, I'll put it on. The center of that S. This has been created by a pentagram. I didn't deliberately try and get the piston that in the middle of the S. I don't know if that's there or not. Now, the other fantastic thing that turned up over Christmas was this, which is the Kepler supernova 306090 triangle. I won't go through it too much, but you can see that it intersects this point, which was already the intersection of those diagonals I just showed you and the Great Pentagram, and this point, which is an intersection between a precise 45-degree line, which matches that, and from the precise centre of of the mandorla. And we go straight through that, and then we bounce off this thing here, on the circle through these bits, and this is almost exactly vertical. I've no idea how he's managed to do that, or well, there's no freedom left. So this is just something he's noticed and managed to incorporate. Look, I've just taken a crop of the Royal Shakespeare Company's timeline, which I invite you to pause and just read through. This is the Royal Shakespeare Company, after all, and it's just laughable. The first two, go to the second one. Second one appears to refer to an eclipse, which you could hardly see, but in 1598 you damn well could. It went straight through the line of totality. Went straight through northern England. And it's the only one on here is Tempest, and that was destroyed. I think that the Kepler supernova is very important because, of course, it doesn't turn up in the works. Now, these are 4 bits that are left over. In terms of, have we finished? I don't think we have quite finished. There's a 60-degree line that goes from the B up to the R. This end is used to generate Venus. I have no idea what this end is for. It's just, what is it doing? The upper anonymous rule plays no part in the geometry so far. These endpoints are not part of the geometry. That doesn't, he'd have done something with it, but I've no idea what it is. This large blue triangle is called a golden gnomon, and it's a very pentagrammy thing, which we discovered. This line here, just look at that. What's that? Oh, maybe that's a line that goes straight through that square. That's it's not a square, is it? It's an oblong, and that may... I suspect looking at it actually does tell us something about what we should be looking for. And then there are 3 lowercase i's. 2 of them, one of them here, have their dots quite exquisitely marked. The other one being the monkey's head on imprinted. So what's this guy doing? So those are things that those are orphans that we suspect. And then there's this. And I just assume that is this just too good? That's the geometry, essentially. It's completed largely, and was extremely enjoyable. Now, I need to mention this briefly because this is unique. It is the only instance of this that I'm confident in any way, actually. Now, anybody that's analysed this knows that it's unique, but this gridding, this is the only case that I'm aware of it, and I make no apologies for saying this again. Do not do this ever with plain text. You cannot do this with plain text. There won't be enough in there for you to be sure that there is, and this has been covered. You will, you're doing damage to your own side when you do these things. Now, And I mean, I can take any grid of text you want and find things in it. I did quite a bit of this when I started. Right, so let's just have a quick look at this. If you have a background, let us say, in statistical mechanics, and you've been giving lectures on John Dee, I'd just like you to look at this. If you gave 100 people that shape and the word the Westminster, not in Parliament Square, but Regent's Park or Piccadilly Gardens, they're going to say the Westminster. That says Westminster Abbey. This one, which says essentially Poets' Corner, is possibly the sneakiest thing in the entire publication. And then this has got plain text. But the thing about these two, and it's difficult about this one because it's being irregular, these are highly regular. And that is a Petrine cross, and that is a letter I. It's also two T's. But it's the humour that's in there which is difficult to weigh. Now you're already in a bit of trouble combinatorically just because we've only got 146 characters or something on here. That is the point about this as well, is that we're only dealing with this text. We're not dealing with all of this text. That is a puzzle, and it clearly is a puzzle. Even Wells can get his massive head around that. So but the problem, you see, if you just stay for a moment, is this never stops. So I've now got three I's, and I've got two T's of Ellison and Veritas. And you can start complaining that I've gone into Latin. It's not going to work. This never, you don't want to say never stops, but it goes way beyond what anybody would consider feasible. There's more, the amount of information that's folded into here is astonishing, and it's all relevant. It's not Dodie and Diana and Crash in funny little bits, but there's just dozens and dozens of it. So that's the amalgam of everything, and that's a heat map of it all. And of course, there is further encoding, several further encodings. This has been described as a fortress, and indeed it is. And if it needs to be weaponized, the work that was done by Queensland University can actually be picked up and used to your. If someone would like to mount an attack on any of this now, that would actually be the best thing that ever happened. No one is going to do this, unfortunately, because anybody with any sense, once they zoom in, is going to go, I'm not touching your authorship debate, get out of my office. Now, I just need to mention then that, we've got other ones, haven't we? I don't want to dismiss this, because it's, on the one hand, it's really good, it's a key. So this is the Stratford Monument Stone, of course, underneath the balloon face, and this... the problem with this is that I didn't have to do, Ben Jonson, didn't have to do too much work to make that happen. You or I, given a bag of Scrabble letters, can come up with something like that. So that's not really good enough. I mean, none of us are capable of doing what happened on the dedication. So, but the second problem is that half of it's missing. So it's suspect. Now, this is far and away the best one. I shouldn't put that on the bottom because I've got a kind of a rule of not displaying dodgy cryptography, but that is so shockingly bad that I have to put it up. Nevilleist, will you just stop it? Nevilleist's Per Amundsen at the top of this stone it's just produced stuff which is just so bad. And the trouble with it, of course, is people see this and they think, oh, that's what you do, is it? It's rubbish. Nothing compares anything like what has been found, on the sonnet stuff in particular. Nothing anywhere near it. So that's the dedication. Now, having completed the geometry, in order to get away from the geometry, I decided to attempt to capture the entire document and go through it line by line and take little crops of all the suspicious stuff and list it all up. So just walk through it all, and then write a program to decant my XML file into a series of CSV files, which I can then load into a spreadsheet, and I can perform operations such as counting up commas and finding gematria and finding the capital letters at the start and stuff like that, and then displaying them in pyramids and squares and stuff and trying to find things. And once I got that to the point where I'm now trying to close in on the data to get it accurate, I revised what was the driver for all this, which is this astonishing video from Alan Green. Now, I've taken large lumps out of Alan with good reason, but both the discovery of the geometry on the front page and then this utterly astonishing set of figures cannot take enough hats off to you, sir. What I find mind-blowing, and what is part of what I've just had enough now, is that these numbers came out quite some time ago. They are quite remarkable. They need to be verified, and if they're true, that's quite astonishing on its own. It's going to take a little bit of. You're going to have to go through quite a few books to find anything that does this, and it just doesn't. But having walked through it all as well. I can also tell you that whilst this is fantastic, but this thing is just absolutely stuffed full of a number puzzle. It's just the number of threes of things, of strain, sets of slanted, italicized colons, just so much stuff. This thing will just have to remain now. Nobody is really interested in finding this number puzzle. And I'm slightly concerned that I've unearthed potentially dangerous material if it falls into the wrong hands. I mean, if you don't own this, it could, I guess if it's misrepresented and destroyed by its creator because they've gone off, in the direction of Eric von Daniken, then that's not, I would suggest, to Oxfordian's benefit. So let's just finish off with this quote. I'd have more respect for Oxfordians if they'd just admit that they don't believe a cockney gutter swipe could be capable of such work. Now, that's obviously a Stratfordian because it's got a blatant factual error in the middle of it, but the entire subject looks like that from the outside. If and when the gutter swipe community of our green and pleasant land are ever told the truth, they aren't going to bat an eyelid, and they are going to laugh at that. Now, I feel obliged, in concluding, to put a little word in for the gutter swipe community. That collection of letters up here is, in the opinion of any physicist you can get your hands on, I mean, it's a definition. There are no physicists who do not think this. Right? This is one of the most beautiful things that was ever written down. All physicists understand this. It's like Newton's equations for ordinary people, and it is the culmination of classical mechanics. Now, Oliver here had an astonishingly difficult early childhood, and his parents did actually bump into some money which allowed them to send him to grammar school, but he had to leave at 16. And he only actually worked for the telegraph company up until I think he was 24. The rest of it he spent as a complete loner. He is one of the most important physicists and mathematicians. There's loads of other maths that we all use that this guy created. And yet, as I say, if you're not a physicist or a mathematician, you may never have heard of him. We call these Maxwell's equations, of course. They're not. They're Oliver's. Now, 20 years later, very famously, this man in the middle would change everything in ways that arguably even he had difficulty getting his head right. I certainly do. On the right here is Arnold Schoenberg, and I couldn't get Pablo in for this, so this is Leopold Godolsky, who's the best thing that ever happened to a piano, and of course in 1905 Schoenberg's 1909 I think, or 7, but the three of them, Schoenberg, Picasso and Einstein, change everything in their respective subjects and each of them open places that we did not know existed. Now, and so endeth the era of classical mechanics, which began 300 years previously when Johannes Kepler did that using logarithms. Now, people have already been disemboweled and burnt alive for suggesting that there are aliens, because that's what happens with this. The next thing is we're a star, and then what if? And that's kind of where I'm coming from in terms of the effect that these people have had on our country. These are possibly on the left. Is the most important person in our history, the most significant person in our history, the most important person to understand. And on the right, there's a bit of Merlin in all of us, and that's who that guy is. So that's it. Nobody, to all intents and purposes, that I know believes any of this, and I've just about had enough now, so I'm going to find another hobby. If that's of interest to you, I do hope so. Good luck.